Okay, let's go ahead and talk about how to add these fractions. As a matter of fact, if you think you could do this problem, go ahead and put your answer into the comment section. Just make sure you fully reduce your answer. So, for example, let's say you did a problem and your answer was 100 over 200. Well, mathematically speaking, even though this might be the correct value, you don't ever leave your fractions like this. You've always fully reduced or simplified. So, in this case, it would be 1/2. So go ahead and put your fully reduced simplified answer into the comment section. And of course, I'm going to go through how we can do this problem in two ways. But because we're dealing with some pretty big numbers, we take a look down here, 850 and 51. These denominators, this will require a bit of number crunching. So there's probably not a super easy direct path here. I don't want to make this problem out to be any more difficult than it is, but you may have to do a little bit of arithmetic. Don't let that scare you off. But anyways, we're going to get to exactly how to add these fractions in just 1 second. But first, let me quickly introduce myself. My name is John. I'm the founder of TC Math Academy. I'm also a middle and high school math teacher. I've been teaching math for decades, and I'm telling you right now, you could be successful in mathematics. But what you need is great math instruction. Hopefully, you have an excellent math teacher, but what you need is great math instruction, clear, understandable, and comprehensive. So if you're at the middle school, high school, or even college level in terms of mathematics, check out my Math Help program. You can find a link to it in the description of this video. Also, if you happen to be getting ready for some sort of special exam, some sort of special test, things like the GED, SAT, ACT, maybe the ASVAB, teacher certification exams, almost all these tests out there have a math section on it, and I can help you prepare and pass those particular exams. If you homeschool, check out my homeschool program for middle and high school mathematics. If you need a pair of great math notes, I'm going to leave links to my notes in the description of this video because you definitely need something to study from, but you need to be working on taking awesome math notes yourself. And if this video helps you out, don't forget to like and subscribe, as that definitely helps me out. Okay, so let's go ahead and start this little video off by me showing you the answer. So let's see if you got this right if you attempted the problem. And there you go. The answer is 151 over 255. There is the fraction right there that hopefully most of you out there got. Now, if you didn't get this correct, you might have gotten a fraction that if you reduced it down or simplified could be the right answer. But of course, you're going to have to, evaluate that yourself. But this is the correct final answer. And if you got that right, let me give you a nice little happy face, an A plus, a 100%, and a few stars so you can have an extra special day. Nice job. Okay, this was we're dealing with fractions, especially adding and subtracting fractions, oftentimes requires a bit of work, but these particular denominators are going to be a little bit of a hassle to work with because we have to, work with larger numbers. It's not like an easy problem like 3/5 plus 1/3 or something like that, where the denominators are nice, easy numbers. Sometimes you're going to be dealt these larger numbers like this. But anyways, we're going to get into exactly how to do this, and we're going to approach this two different ways. Now, here's the deal. Anytime you're working with fractions, adding, subtracting, multiplying, dividing, doesn't make a difference. If you have an opportunity to simplify a fraction, always simplify before you do anything. So hopefully you saw that opportunity right here. Here we have 420 over 850. Well, because both of these numbers end in zero, you could effectively just cross cancel those zeros, and 420 over 850 is equivalent to 42 over 85, because basically both of these numbers are being multiplied by 10, i.e., we have 42 times 10, okay, and 85 times 10. Anytime you see a zero at the end of a number, it's just a factor of 10. So you can just simply cross cancel those zeros just like this. And you basically, there are tens go away like so. And you're left with the fraction 82 over 85, which is much easier to deal with than 420 over 850. So that's your, hopefully the first thing that you saw in this problem. If it isn't, always evaluate the fractions you're dealing with before you start doing anything. Hey, can I make this fraction simpler? And in this case, we obviously can. Okay, so let's go ahead and take a look at the problem as it's written now. So we got 42 over 85 plus 5 over 51. So anytime you're trying to add fractions, the denominators have to be the same. Okay, once the denominators are the same, we just simply add the respective numerators, the top numbers there. But in this particular case, obviously these denominators are not the same, so we have to find a common denominator. And what we have to find is specifically the lowest common denominator, the LCD. All right, so that brings us to another sub-skill when it comes to fractions is can you find the lowest common denominator? Well, it's not that difficult if you can factor the denominators, okay? We want to factor each respective denominator into its prime factors. So 85 is the same as 17 times 5. Now, how did I find that out? Well, I just kind of knew that. You can kind of play around with these numbers. If you notice here, 85, because this number ends in a 5, it's divisible by 5. So you can divide 85 into 5 and it'll be 17. So that's going to be 17 times 5 is 85. So we only have these two prime numbers, 17 and 5. So when you're looking at 51, you might want to say, well, okay, let's see if 51 is divisible by any number. Now, one great rule, just as I stated right here, I knew that 85 was divisible by 5 because it ended in 5. Now, 51, if you add these digits, 5 and 1, you get 6. If the sum of the digits is divisible by 3, then that number is divisible by 3. So here, 5 plus 1 is 6. 6 is divisible by 3 because 6 divided by 3 is 2. So 51 is divisible by 3, and we get 17 times 3 is 51. So it really pays off to know these divisibility rules. If you're not familiar with the divisibility rules, it's something that I teach in my Math Foundations course, which is a little mini course, 3-chapter mini course on basic mathematics. But you want to know these divisibility rules when you're looking to reduce fractions. They'll come in really handy instead of you kind of guessing here. So anyways, let's go ahead and move forward. So 85, its prime factors is 17 and 5, and 51, its prime factors is 17 and 3. And that's what we need to know in order to get the LCD. So the lowest common denominator is basically the product of each of these respective prime factors. So let's take a look at the prime factors that we need to have in our LCD. Well, we have a 17 here and we have a 17 here. So how many 17s do we need on our LCD? Just one, okay? You don't need to write both of these, just one. We need a 5 because we have a 5 as a prime factor right there. And we need a 3, so we have to put that in our product as well. So 17 times 5 times 3, this entire product is 255. That is the LCD. Okay, so again, when you're calculating out the LCD, it requires a bit of work, right? We have to factor the denominators, and then we have to go ahead and pull the prime factors, and sometimes we have to do some additional things as well, and then we have to find that product, but there you go. That's 255. Now, here's the thing, right? Because you've already done the work, I want you to just think of 85 right now. We're going to leave 85, our denominator, as 17 times 5, and 51 as 17 times 3, because we're going to go ahead and make some adjustments to these fractions so that we have each denominator with the LCD. All right, so let's go ahead and get to that right now. Okay, so here's our 85 and here's our 51. Okay, now I'm not going to multiply 17 times 5. Well, we could, right? If it helps you to understand this better, this is our 85 and this is our 51. So how do I make it 85 into a 255? Okay, that's what we have to do. I have to rewrite this denominator such that it's 255. Well, if you leave it in its factored form, 17 times 5, if you recall, the LCD, I know I'm kind of throwing a lot of things out of you, at you here. The LCD is 3 times 17 times 5. Well, actually, let me write it in this order. 17 times 5 times 3. That's the LCD, which is 255. So if I look at this 17 and 5, which I know is 85, I'm like, okay, This 85 has 17 and it has 5. It's just missing the 3. So if I multiply 3 by this, I'll have the entire LCD. So it's just an easy way to figure out what number you need to multiply the denominator by to adjust these fractions such that they have the LCD, that lowest common denominator. So I have to multiply the denominator 3, or 85 times 3 to get to 255. So I have to multiply the numerator by 3 to kind of adjust this fraction properly. So that's going to be 3 times 42, which is 126. Now, if you're just starting out adding or subtracting fractions, this problem is probably too, I don't want to say too advanced, but you want to start with easier problems. This one does require a lot more number crunching, so hopefully you already have some pretty good experience and skills when it comes to adding and subtracting fractions. But let's go ahead and continue forward here. So how do we turn a 51 into a 255? We need to multiply it by 5. Again, we could see that if we left this factor of 17 times 3, that's missing the 5 in our LCD. So we're going to multiply both the denominator and numerator by 5. So we get 5 times 5 is 25. Finally, we are ready to add these fractions because now we have the same denominator, that lowest common denominator. So to add these fractions, all I have to do is simply add the respective numerators. So 126 plus 25 is 151 over 255, and there you go. Okay, so as I kind of indicated in the beginning of this video, sometimes when it comes to mathematics, there's not just always one guaranteed simple easy path. Oftentimes, especially with arithmetic, you're going to have to do a fair amount of number crunching, but this is a nice, elegant kind of step-by-step way to add these fractions, and there you go. Now I'm going to show you another approach that I don't know if it's a simpler. It's definitely easier to get a right answer, but then we have other issues in terms of reducing the fractions. But let me go ahead and show you what I'm talking about here. And this is one of my favorite techniques when it comes to fractions and even in mathematics. It's called the bow tie method of adding and subtracting fractions. And what's great about this method is that we don't need to use the LCD. We don't need to think about the LCD. And I called it the bow tie, method, because I'm thinking about a little bow tie as we would wear, like here's a regular old necktie that some of you out there might wear. A bow tie kind of looks like that. So this pattern that I'm going to show you kind of reminds me, at least, of a bow tie. So let's go ahead and take a look at what I'm talking about. And here it is. So it's a very specific pattern. Okay, you have to do it in this exact order. And this is where what you're going to do in order to add these fractions without even thinking about the LCD. You're going to start with the denominator, this number in the bottom right, okay? And you're going to multiply across to this numerator over here. So that'll be 51 times 42, and we're going to put our answer there. Now we're adding these fractions, so I'm going to put an addition sign, and then you're going to go 85, this denominator, and you're going to multiply across this way. And remember, you have to do it in this precise order. Okay, here, this first and then this second. So 85 times 5, and we're going to have that right there. This forms our numerator, okay, when we simplify this. And then to get to our denominator, what we're going to do is take that 85 and multiply by 51, and that is going to be our denominator. So literally, by just following this simple pattern, this first, then this second, and then this third, as I kind of showed you right here, you're going to get the right answer. However, oftentimes when you're using this technique, you may need to reduce your final answer. The only drawback with the bow tie method is oftentimes you may not have the LCD as your denominator, but if you know how to reduce fractions, we can fix up our final answer. But this will be a correct answer. We just, again, we'll need to simplify. So let's go ahead and do the math here. 42 times 51 is 2,142. 85 times 5 is 425. And 85 times 51 is 4,335. All right, let's go ahead and add those numerators up. So when we add these two numbers, we get 2,567 over 4,335. So this is the correct answer, all right? Its value is correct. However, this would be something like having your final answer as 100 over 200, although that's equivalent to, let's say, zero point 0.5. We're not done yet because in mathematics, you always want to reduce and simplify your answer. So if you gave this to your teacher and you were taking some sort of test that has fractions on it, your teacher would probably give you, at least for me, maybe like 7 out of 10 points. They would dock you a considerable amount of points for not simplifying your final answer. So now we have to go ahead and reduce this big fraction. And this is, again, where knowing those divisibility rules will come in handy. All right, so what we have to do is look for factors, common factors between these two numbers, and we just kind of go through this process. And it's a fairly arduous process of testing numbers. You can use divisibility rules like, okay, is this number divisible by 5? Is it number divisible by 2? Divisible by 3? And then sometimes you'll have to kind of just work on factoring down these numbers. And I'm kind of skip that work, but I am going to show you the end result that 2, 5, 6, 7 is equivalent to 17 times 51, and 4,335 is equivalent to 17 times 255. And here we have common factors between the numerator and denominator. We can cross cancel, and we're left with our answer that we got doing it the first way using the LCD. So again, when you're working with larger numbers, you have to kind of keep two options open. That's why you don't want to get stuck on any one way of doing a math problem, especially when it comes to adding and subtracting fractions. And arithmetic is extremely important, especially for those of you that are studying algebra or beyond. Okay, you want to keep these skills fresh, and it's sometimes difficult, especially when we're using our calculator all the time. So hopefully this was a fun little review problem. If you need additional help with anything fractions, I have a ton more videos on my YouTube channels on fractions covering all sorts of different topics. But I would steer you towards two of my math courses, my Math Foundation course and my Pre-Algebra course if you're really serious about wanting to take your fraction knowledge to the next level. Okay, so with that being said, I definitely wish you all the best in your mathematics adventures. Thank you for your time and have a great day.